In lesson 3-5, we're going to be solving two-step equations. So if you remember back in 3.2, we were solving addition and subtraction equations. And in lesson 3.3, we were solving multiplication equations. So in lesson 3.5, we're going to be doing both of those steps. So we'll take up a little bit more room in our notebooks because we are going to be completing an additional step in today's problems. We won't have to worry about step 1 here of our rules for today, but it is important to realize that we may have to do this in the future. So step 1 is always to simplify both sides of the equations. We're not going to really worry about that for now. We'll get to that when it comes. But step 2 is really important here, is we're actually going to get rid of any addition or subtraction to the side with the variable. So when we think of our order of operations, we have P, E, M, D, A, S, PEMDAS. And normally we do our multiplication division first and our addition subtraction at the end. But when we're solving equations, we actually have to work our PEMDAS backwards. So we actually need to get rid of addition and subtraction first, and then we'll take care of our multiplication and division. So getting into our first example, we have 4x plus 3 equals 19. So again, learning our steps from lesson 3.2 and 3.3 are really going to help us keep everything organized. So we have 4 times x plus 3 equals 19. So thinking of our rules back here, step 2 says we need to get rid of any addition or subtraction to the side of the variable. So again, we're only going to look at this side because x is over here as opposed to this side of the equation where we just have a 19. I want to look at the side with the variable. So we need to get rid of any addition or subtraction. So right now this is multiplication. I'm not going to worry about that yet. We'll get there later. Over here I have a positive 3. So I know that I'm going to need a negative 3 on this side to cancel that positive 3 out. We get rid of it and get the variable by itself. Whatever you do to one side of the equation, we have to do to the other. So I need a negative 3 over there as well. I'll draw my line all the way across. We want to bring our 4x down. We didn't do anything with 4 times x. We're bringing the whole quantity down, or the whole expression down. We'll also bring our equal sign straight down. Okay, a positive 3 and a negative 3 equals 0, so we can kind of cancel that out. And we have 19 and 3, so we're going to have 16. Now at this point, it looks like our homework from 3-3. We have 4 times x equals 16. Now again, divide by the coefficient, just like we did before with solving multiplication equations. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and so x equals 4. Now we can take 4 and plug it back into our problem, and 4 times 4 is 16, plus 3 is 19. So this answer and solution does work. So giving another example a try here, we have 3 times t minus 7 equals 14. So right here I see we have multiplication, but if I remember in my rules, I'm not going to do the multiplication first. I'm going to get rid of any addition and subtraction to the side with the variable first. So I'm looking at the negative 7, because if we change that to addition, this is a plus negative 7. So to cancel a negative 7, I really need to have a positive 7 on both sides of the equation. Please notice how I'm lining everything up. I put the positive 7 right below the negative 7 and the positive 7 right below the 14. And I'm not doing anything to my 3 times t, so I'm going to bring that straight down. Again, keeping everything in my equation lined up. I'm going to bring my equal sign straight down. Negative 7 and positive 7 cancel. And if I have 14 and I have 7 more, then I have 21. And now I need to divide by the coefficient because I'm on to my step 3, which says get rid of any multiplication or division to the side with the variable. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and so t equals 7. Now we'll take this solution and we'll plug it into our problem up here. 3 times 7 is 21, and 21 minus 7 is 14, which is correct. Okay, so we have 6 plus 5y equals 26. Now the order here changed a little bit. Our variable moved from being the first item to the second item. So let's not let that throw us off at all. Right now we need to focus on the addition and subtraction part of the equation. And right now we have a positive 6. So I need to get rid of that first. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 6 or get a negative 6 on both sides of the equation. Again, this part here has to do with multiplication, so I'm going to leave that alone. So I'm going to bring my 5y down. I'll bring my equal sign down. And positive 6 and negative 6 is going to leave us with 0. And if I have 26 and 06, I have 20. And so right now I need to divide by the coefficient because I'm on to my next step. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. 5 divided by 5 is 1, and so y equals 4. 20 divided by 5 is 4. And so we'll check our solution. Now we need to do order of operations. So 5 times 4 is 20, and 20 plus 6 is 26. So now we have a negative coefficient, negative 3c plus 9 equals 3. Again, I'm not going to worry about the negative 3c yet because this is multiplication. I want to take care of this 9, which is all by itself, and it is a positive 9. So I'm going to get a negative 9 on both sides of the equation. Draw my line. Bring my negative 3c down. I'm going to bring my equal sign down. A positive 9 and a negative 9 end up being 0. And if I have $3 and I owe $9, that means I still owe $6. Now, my coefficient is negative 3. So I know that I'm going to have to divide by negative 3. Because again, I want to get rid of that negative as well as get rid of the 3. So whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Also divide by negative 3. So the negatives here will cancel. The 3's will cancel. I'll be left with c equals, and the negatives cancel, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So I actually have a positive 2, which we know that a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So when we check our answer in the original problem, negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. And negative 6 plus 9, so I owe 6 and I have 9, means I have 3. So that does work. All right, so this equation, we're starting off with being equal to 0. 0 equals negative 4x plus 32. Now, this being a 0 over here should not throw us off because our attention should not be over here anyways. We're looking over here because here is my variable x, and we always need to focus on the side of the variable. Now, negative 4 times x, that's multiplication, so I need to go over here to this part. This is a positive 32, so I need a negative 32 on both sides of the equation. Draw my line across. I'm going to bring my negative 4x down because I haven't done anything with it. I'm going to bring my equal sign down. And notice again, keeping everything lined up. A positive 32 and a negative 32 will end up being 0. If I have nothing and I owe 32, that means I owe 32. So now I'm going to divide by my coefficient, which is negative 4, and divide by my coefficient again, which is negative 4. And so the negatives will be gone, the 4's will be gone, so x will equal, and here again, a negative divided by a negative. So my negatives will be gone, and 32 divided by 4 is a positive 8. So I can check that answer up here. If negative 4 times 8 is negative 32, and I know that negative 32, if I owe 32 and I have 32, really I don't have anything at all. For our last example, a baseball problem, Matthew had 64 hits during last year's baseball season. So 64 hits sounds like a total. So I'm going to start by writing 64. Then it says this was, and was is kind of a word like is. So I'm going to write an equal sign for was. And then we see 8. So 8 less, which is subtraction. Then we know we have to flip the order of our equation. Twice the number. So whenever we see twice the number, we know we're doing 2 times n. N standing for number, and twice the 2 means we're multiplying. So twice the number of hits Gregory had. So how many hits did Gregory have last season? Well, first we need to get our equation written correctly. So let's rewrite that with 64 equals 2n minus 8, because here we had the flip it sign because of the word then. And so we need to make sure we get this written in the correct order, because we're not subtracting 2n, we're actually subtracting 8. So to give us a little bit more room here, we'll move this up. And so to start with, again, I'm focusing on the side with the variable. This is multiplication, so I need to take care of my negative 8. This is a negative 8, so I need a positive 8 on both sides of the equation. So I'll draw my line, and I'll come down here a little ways. I'm going to draw an arrow bringing my 2n down, because I haven't done anything with it yet. I'm bringing my equal sign down. A negative 8 and a positive 8 equals 0. If I owe 8 and I have 8, I have nothing at all. So 64 plus 8 gives us 72. And now I need to divide by the coefficient of n, which is 2. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and so 1 times n is n, which means that n equals 36. 72 divided by 2 is 36. Now we need to remember that this is a word problem, so we want to say we have 36 hits. And if you could say 36 hits last season, or just 36 hits, that's fine. So that takes us to the end of lesson 3-5, solving two-step equations. If you have any other questions or would like to see some more examples, feel free to check out the personal tutors on the Moodle site. Otherwise, come and ask for help.